For months, my brother had been bugging me to go camping with him. My busy schedule never gave me a good opportunity until COVID happened, and the place where I worked shut down. So the next time that he asked, I said yes. Both of us didn't have much experience camping at all. I even Googled what to take with you when camping. Our plan was to go out in the woods, set up a tent, stay there for 2 nights, and explore during the day, and just have some much needed fun. We both had to go out and buy all our camping gear because we've never done this before, along with the sleeping bag, backpack, a bunch of snacks, and a tent we planned on sharing. I brought a handgun. It was the first gun I've ever owned. I only bought it a week prior. I've never even got a chance to shoot it before. I thought I would bring it in case we ran into a bear or something. I have no idea if bears are even in the area where we plan on going. It just made me feel safer. In the morning, we headed out on a 3-hour drive, parked the truck off of a side road where we hadn't seen anyone for miles, and started walking deep into the thick forest. We hiked for quite some time, and noticed a slight clearing about a half a mile up ahead. I mentioned that would be a good spot for us to set up our tent, since the sun was on its way down. But on our way to the clearing, I heard what seemed to be another set of footsteps. Through the dry forest, I looked around and saw nothing. We hadn't seen any life on our entire walk, human or animal. I heard it again, and to me, it sounded like a person's footsteps. It seemed to stop when I started looking, and started again when I kept walking. My brother never heard the noise, and didn't seem too concerned about it either. We finally arrived to the clearing, set up our tent, and started getting ready for bed. Before laying down, I just had an uneasy feeling. Something seemed off to me. I didn't mention this to my brother. I just told myself I was feeling paranoid because I've never been camping like this before, and that I need to relax because we got a long day ahead of us tomorrow. About 2 hours of trying to sleep, I heard it again. Now this time, I know exactly what I'm hearing. Slow footsteps right outside our tent. Slow, calculating footsteps getting closer and closer. I nudged my brother to wake him up. He hears it. Now his eyes are wide open. We are frozen still, trying not to make a sound. Then the footsteps come to a stop. Whoever it is standing 2 feet from my head, only separated by some cheap tent cloth. Then I hear the sound of what seems to be the opening of a pocket knife. Fear can't describe my emotions at this point. Then this person stabs the knife in the tent, slowly starting to pull it down, ripping an opening into our impending doom. At that moment, I felt my gun next to my foot. I quickly sat up and cocked it back. That well-known sound that it made must have frightened this person, and they ran off somewhere as fast as they could. Thank God, I thought, not having to use it. I can't imagine me using my gun for the first time would be killing someone. My brother and I didn't go to sleep for the rest of the night. As soon as the sun rised, we packed up our things and got out of there. Never came back. I haven't been camping since. I think I will eventually, but most likely at an actual campground. My girlfriend and I had heard about some hot springs in a nearby forest. One late afternoon in September, we decided to check it out. It was about a half-hour drive to a makeshift parking lot, and about a 20-minute hike to where the hot springs was supposed to be. I was really hoping no one else was there, because the sun was soon to set and thought it would be somewhat romantic. When we saw the hot springs, I was a bit upset. There was a couple already there, and they did not seem to be the friendly type. He had long, slimy hair, even with it being wet, and she looked like she had done lots of drugs for the past decade, and seemed incapable of giving a genuine smile. But, lucky for us, they seemed to be leaving. Perfect timing, I thought. As we passed each other along the path, we didn't say anything, just exchanged a very subtle head nod, and they left. I did think it was a little odd, because where we left our car seemed to be the only place to park, and there were no other cars, and there was nothing around us for miles. Nonetheless, the water was amazing. The sunset was beautiful, and all around, a very special moment in time with my girlfriend. The sun was about to set, and we started to pack up and leave. We were moving pretty fast because surrounded by the thick, tall trees, it was almost completely dark, and we didn't bring any flashlights. Halfway back to the car, my girlfriend was walking about 5 yards ahead of me when all of a sudden she tripped, but not a normal looking trip. It looked like her legs had been taken out from under her. She screeched in pain. I ran over to her, but as I got there, I felt something across my knee. I too almost fell, but was able to catch my balance. I looked closely and could see that there was a fishing line about 2 feet off the ground across the entire path and tied tightly around some trees. Thinking about it for a brief second, this definitely was not here on our way up. As I was kneeling down, checking if my girlfriend was okay, I saw 2 dark figures, 15 feet or so off the path, and quickly walking towards us. My girlfriend being unaware of this, I mentioned for her to get up and let's get going. For some reason, I didn't feel a sense of complete urgency at this moment, but as I was looking over, and the moonlight shined down perfectly, what I could clearly see was a machete. It was immediately then I grabbed my girlfriend's hand, yanked her up off her feet, and yelled, "Run!" As we both sprinted down the trail. We could hear us being chased. For a brief second, I turned around and could see the same grimy face of the man from the hot springs. He was running with one hand above his head, seeming to be just waiting for the perfect time to swipe down the machete on us. From where we started being chased, it was about a 10-minute walk back to the car. I think we got there in about 1 minute. The good thing is I never had to worry about my girlfriend keeping up. She can run faster and longer than any female I've ever known. Once we got to the car, I sped out of there, not seeing anyone. I'm not surprised, because with us both being fast and our adrenaline pumping, I doubt there was another couple that could keep up with us. I called the police and made out a report. It's been 6 months and we haven't heard any follow-ups. Either way, I'm not interested in hot springs anymore. This happened to me in 2007. I was an 8-year-old girl. Every summer, my whole family would go camping for a week. My dad would drive the RV, and me, my mom, and 2 older brothers would play games in the back. With so much room, I didn't care how far the drive was. I always had fun. Every year, we would try to go to a campground that we've never been before, and this year was no different. The campgrounds were full of other families just like ours. I would usually find a girl my age to play with, and basically have a good friend for a week. So once we got there, my parents let me walk around the RV park and try to find a friend to play with. I was only allowed to wander within sight of the RV. That was never a problem. It was easy to find a friend, but this time was different. After walking around for 15 minutes, I didn't see any girl my age. I started looking around to the point I probably seemed lost. At that moment, a man came up to me and said, "Are you new here?" He was short, slightly overweight, and had a thick mustache, wearing khaki-colored shorts, shirt, and hat. It looked like he worked there. "Yes, I am," I said. He starts telling me about all the fun things to do here. The pool's over there, the rec center is down there, and the world's most fun playground is down this way. Saying this as he points to a trail that led into the woods. "Do you want me to show you?" he asks. Completely forgetting about my agreement with my parents, I excitingly say yes. I followed him down a narrow trail, about 50 yards or so. He stops and says to me, "I actually know a shortcut. Follow me." I started to feel a bit uneasy at this moment. He started walking through the thick shrubs and bushes, a clear sign that people don't go this way. I hesitated. He turns to me with a cracked smile and says, "It's not much farther, I promise." Against my better judgment, I followed. We started walking for what seemed a long time. My legs and arms were getting scraped up and cut all up and down from all the branches and bushes. It was at this point I couldn't see the campground anymore. I didn't know where anything was. I was getting scared and I had enough. I told the man that I'm done and I'm going back to my parents. He immediately turns off his friendly demeanor and gives me an evil look, and in a low, angry tone says, "No, you're not." He grabs a fistful of the front of my t-shirt and slams me up against the nearest tree. I start crying uncontrollably, overwhelmed with fear, understanding that this man doesn't work at the RV park. His clothes have no patches or name badge, just the same khaki colors you might assume an employee would have. He then starts caressing my face, telling me a girl as pretty as me doesn't need to cry. Horrified by this man and the things he might do to me, I knew I had to put up some kind of fight. Having two older brothers, I knew their weakness. As I'm pinned up against the tree and him bending down directly in my face, I kicked him as hard as I could between the legs. That hurt him enough to let loose of his grip. I took that opportunity to run away as fast as I could, not knowing where to go, just trying to retrace my steps and not looking back. Eventually, I saw the campground. Still crying and running, I found and hugged both of my parents and didn't let go. I told them what happened, and the cops were called. They scoured the woods looking for the man from the description I gave them. The other families at the campground were horrified from the story and helped with the search. 2 hours in, they found him a mile away from the campsite, hiding under a log and some fallen branches. I was so relieved when he was caught, but hugging both my parents after escaping this sick man was the best feeling. What I experienced was very traumatizing, but I know it could have been a lot worse. I hope he never sees the light of day, so he can never victimize a young child again.